Raise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wow, you're up first.
I'm up first.
Yes, you
You know what that means? You get to
I'm a
lead.
hard act to follow.
No. That and you get to lead first.
That's right, yeah.
He's a lead-off act.
That's it.
Okay. You guys have you gentlemen have in front of you the summary highlights of the financials for Thursday, June 2nd. The only highlights to note, under the appropriations and supplemental transfers, we have a appropriation transfer from contingency to return appropriations to the sheriff's office for expenses reimbursed and deposited into the general fund. Under encumbrances, there is one travel encumbrance for job and family services. And under the vouchers, there are a couple of large items that we wanted to note. The first one being a payment of $28,000 to Tyler Technologies. That is the new name of the company that owns the New World System that we utilize. That is for the business analytics and dashboard maintenance contract, which is actually on a different cycle than our basic New World System ERP. The other item on there is a $17,987 payment to Courtview Justice for a maintenance contract for the clerk of courts. Any questions on the financials?
We were told to be kind to you today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that on
You
day
need to be
one.
kind to her every day, but especially the
Well,
first
it is
one.
day 10, so I
Yeah,
guess.
it is day 10. She is
So we'll hold on. Actually, there's not much you can ask.
There wasn't a whole lot in there to really ask a lot of questions about. Next week there'll be more.
Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board approve and execute Resolution 16-069, itemizing the financials for the meeting of June 2nd, 2016.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier? Commissioner Claypool?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You just hang out here until.
Yeah, historically, we all sign them, then hand them to,
You just kind of stand there and wait for it. There you go. All right. Get that part done.
then you,
Yeah, you're out.
you disappeared in there and we don't know what you did.
That's right. Take a
That's
break.
where all
or-
the mystery
Yeah,
is.
No,
that's right.
What happens after that?
That's right.
Thank you very much.
The Commissioner's Office will report on the items approved May 25th, 2016 by the County Administrator, authorized under Resolution 16-005, under the direction and supervision of the County Commissioners, that was approved January 11th, 2016, pursuant to ORC 305.30.
And so on May 25th, I simply executed annual farm market contracts on behalf of the Department of Aging. This is for June 1st through October 31st of this year. Bart Alcorn, Eddie Fruit Farm, Jacob Kaufman, River Valley Produce, John Taylor, Burton Floral, Cerna's Farm Market, Raymond Byler, DNS Produce, Marvin A. Hirschberger, Hirschberger Produce, Carol Hill, H&H Produce, Paul Harris, Howard's Apples, Barbara Foose, Blooming Patches, Pritt Family Farm, Patrick Cousins, Maple Crest Farm, Robert Sage, Sage Apples, Patterson Fruit Farm, and J&J Produce Urban Growers.
Okay, thank you.
It's been so long.
I know.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Kelly's at a meeting this morning, so I'm filling in for her.
Okay.
The first three are all in regards to Maple Leaf Community Residences. And that's, well, you know what Maple Leaf is. They were approved last year with the formula funds, so this year we're doing the project. And all all we're doing is 2 houses and we're totally siding them. Keith Werbach is the ED for Maple Leaf, and he, when Kelly sent out the RFPs, she asked him, who do you want him to go to? So he gave us the 5 names, and we certified mailed the proposal. I'm giving you a lot more detail than you, I'm sorry.
You're good,
Anyhow,
that's
we
fine.
only got 1 back, and the only one that came back was Gordy Peterson Contracting, and, you know, we so we didn't have an issue when it came within what the estimate was and what the grant was filed for. So we're requesting that the commissioners approve the notice, the contract, the notice of award, the contract, and then the notice to proceed for the Peterson contract for the 2 properties by Maple Leaf in the amount of $28,222.70.
If there's no questions, we're gonna do the 3 of these together.
That would be great.
Yeah, there's no problem with doing 3 of them. Just you sign the one. I think the last one is only
Yeah,
the board
let's
president.
see.
Number
I
5.
think that all of them are, that have gotten in front.
Authorize
Oh,
the
there's one in the middle that's not, so.
Authorize the president.
one in the
Okay,
middle.
so the last one is all 3, the board.
The Office of Community and Economic Development is requesting the board award the bid to Peterson Construction and Contracting Incorporated for the removal and installation of siding for the Maple Leaf Community Residence Siding Project under grant number B-F-15-1AC-1 in the amount of $28,222.70, as they represented the lowest and best bid, and further approve and authorize the president of the board to execute the notice of award. The Office of Community and Economic Development is requesting the board approve and execute the 3-party contract between Geauga County Board of Commissioners, Maple Leaf Residences, and Peterson Construction and Contracting Incorporated for the removal and installation of siding for the Maple Leaf Community Residence Siding Project under grant number B-F-15-1AC-1 in the amount of $28,222.70. The Office of Community and Economic Development is requesting the board approve and authorize the president of the board to execute a notice to proceed for Peterson Construction and Contracting Incorporated for the Maple Leaf Community Residence Siding Project under grant number B-F-15-1AC-1.
I'll make those motions.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Seaver?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Okay, now the next one is something we haven't done in a very long time, and that's to apply for a grant to the state to replenish the revolving loan fund and to then make a loan to a specific business, which in this case would be EEI, or as the holding company will be P&G Capital LLC, but the same. So what we're looking at is a $4.5 million project. You already know, because we did this through the CRA. We set up a CRA for them. This part of the project, we have Erie Bank will be in for $2.1 million. We're gonna use an SBA 504 of $1,680,000. We're gonna apply for $500,000 from the state to replenish the fund, but there'll be $10,000 in admin that we can take out, so it's $500,000, but the loan amount will be $490,000. And the EEI will put in a cash of $230,000. That will cover the construction of the building. Actually the size of the building is probably gonna be a little bit bigger than the 51,000. It's probably gonna be closer to 56,000 now. The purchase of the land, which is about 18 acres, construction of the building, installation of about $300,000 worth of cranes within the building, and about another couple $100,000 of other machinery and equipment, and some site prep. They have to tie into the sewer line, pave, etc. So that's what we're looking at, and this, what we're requesting is that the commissioners sign the environmental and the anti-displacement, and well, it's all listed there, in order to make application. And the application is all through software now, so we don't really have that much paper other than what we download and attach.
So on this here, are we gonna have to return this to the state?
Nope,
And
stays,
did we
we
ever-
have to collect it and we have to report to them.
Did we ever do it last year then?
We didn't do this at all last year.
Okay.
We did it, the last time we did an EV grant was maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's really how we built the fund. We successfully applied for about $1.5 million from the state. And we've since when we collect it, we keep it.
Yeah.
But it's a grant to the county. You never have to pay it back unless we really, I don't think, unless I steal the money. I don't know. Somebody would be liable.
When you cancel the program, yeah.
All right.
Guys hear that in the back row?
Kelly's like, why do you talk so much? I never ever say that.
There's no strings attached to furthering fair housing in this.
Yeah, it's all the same. It's the same department
But
that
the point
brings the
that I'm
formula
making,
money.
does
I
this,
know.
does this allow the
Did you
camel's
see
tent
the
nose under
Senate
the?
approved it?
Yeah, I know, but
Oh,
that
okay,
aside,
okay.
all past dollars were under a different set of rules.
No, this is the same rules. Same
No,
rules as
because
formula.
the rules have changed for further fair housing in the last year.
When does
And so
that
to the,
trigger
to the
though?
new dollars, do these dollars come under that program? Because that program will then cause other things to happen in our county. And I'm concerned about the strings that are being attached.
It won't matter. It supersedes all. It will affect everything, whether it's official today or it's gonna apply to all the funds we have that comes from that. It applies, yes.
So doing this doesn't make any difference.
It's still gonna apply to the formula. To anything that HUD touches applies. Any HUD funds.
Because we had the seed dollars from HUD, past seed dollars, which we've allowed to grow, and we've been
Yeah, it
recycling
applies.
those and,
It
all those kind of
applies.
stuff. But the rules,
Yes, it
for the
applies.
new rules that have just coming into effect, I don't know when they take effect, but they're coming into effect.
It will apply to everything we have.
That's
That's HUD,
pretty
in
scary.
any department. Yeah. Isn't it?
It's very scary.
You
If
use-
you guys don't know about the furthering fair housing rules, the furthering fair housing rules will allow HUD to usurp local zoning to force fair housing into communities.
They
So
say
they
they're
can come into
not,
Geauga
but that
County
is-
and say, Chesterland or Middlefield or whoever, we want you to have Section 8 housing, and they can force that into a community. Because but based on their estimation, whatever their estimation happens to be, that you don't have enough diversity or whatever. So there was a
Yeah,
bill in
here-
the Senate recently to try and push back on that, and it failed.
Yeah.
So,
You used the number 56,000, that's the square footage. You said it was around
Yeah, oh, yeah,
51
yeah.
and then it'll
What
go
they've
to 50.
officially had sent and what we used in the CRA, that's why I didn't want you to get confused. In CRA, it was 51,800 square foot. But as they're refining the space and getting feedback from the architect, it looks like it's probably gonna be 56,000 square foot.
And what was the total price of the project?
About 4.5.
4.5?
Yeah, and that's what we're looking at, you know what's gonna happen is they think they're also gonna, they wanna start on August and their complete date is December of this year. Who knows? I mean, stranger things.
say that again, they're gonna start the
They're
project
gonna
in
start the
August and
project
end it
in
in
August
December.
and their complete date is December.
Oh.
I'm only telling you that because that's how we base the CRA, so when they start taxes, what we're looking at based on what they said, so their tax year would be 2017 to 2018. I'm pretty sure, well, whatever. I don't want to jinx anything. If they think they can get it done. Actually, there is one entity that I saw actually bring their building in on date, on time, and that was Base Tech.
Yes.
They brought it in on time?
Yes.
So,
Is it a prefab building?
no,
No.
Mullet built it, or Mullet Company built it.
Yeah, they were in the Newberry Industrial Park. We keep, Newberry is like the
Feeders and stuff,
incubator
yeah.
for the rest of the county, and Base Tech,
Yeah.
then they had a need for increased production. There wasn't room in Newberry, so they put that space out there. Is that White Road there?
Yeah, he's right on White,
Yeah.
which is now in the CRA zone. But,
Interesting.
yeah.
All right,
Good-
well, I have
good
no further
ownership.
questions. You guys done?
Anita, that is 2015, right?
Yeah,
That was
yeah, I know it sounds weird, but
Okay,
that's
just making
the
sure.
funds they're using. So actually, in response to your question, Skip, they're using 2015 funds, technically 2015 funds, but I don't for a minute not think that they'll impose further for housing on it. But technically, it's money from 2015.
I'm gonna come over and we'll talk more about that, because, you know, that, to me, it's not gonna be worth it. All this funding stuff is not gonna be worth it. If they start coming into our county and doing
But
that.
you have to hit every spot that's getting cut in funds. It's not just us.
The Office of Community and Economic Development is requesting the board approve and execute Resolution 16-070, authorizing the President of the Board of Geauga County Commissioners to make application to the State of Ohio Development Services Agency for financial assistance under the State of Ohio's 2015 Economic Development Community Development Block Grant Program, and further approve and authorize the President of the Board to execute the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Applicant Recipient Disclosure Update Report and Environmental Review Documentation and Certification Form and the Environmental Review Compliance Certification.
Make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
And Commissioner Claypool?
Well, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
I need it.
Lynn.
Morning.
Morning.
Hi, Glenn.
Hey, y'all feeling
Good.
good? It's Thursday. This is messing me up. I thought it was Tuesday.
Did you take care of that employee with the chainsaw problem?
Yes, I did. I talked to him, so.
You can go ahead, I'm listening.
Okay. This is, part of the, parking lot behind Building 3 is really, really bad. This is a whole lot worse than the JFS. A lot of our building in 2, 3, buildings 2 and 3 employees use this back there. I've also extended it, it's gonna be concrete, extended it because we look at it, you can see that this is where our dumpsters are and it's starting to pit and everything from the dumpsters picking up because it's asphalt, so. So this is, come in, you're gonna dig it all out, and then they're also, building 2 has got a crawl space up underneath, so they're gonna retar that whole wall and fix whatever needs to be fixed and everything before.
There's water coming in there?
It's not, but while we have it up,
Yeah.
let's look at it. If there's any cracks or anything, let's repair it, so later down the road, we don't have to do anything. So, and that's what this is for. Any other questions? Concerns? Gripes?
Yeah.
Really gonna open that can of worms?
Yeah, you asked for questions, you might be here for a while.
Maintenance Department is requesting the board approve and execute the contract agreement with Phil Miller Construction Incorporated for the removal and replacement of the concrete parking lot at 470 Center Street for the year 2016 in an amount not to exceed $30,333.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
And y'all have a good day.
Yep, thank you.
Gentlemen.
Morning, sir. Morning, sir. Morning.
Okay.
Good morning.
I'm seeing your picture in the paper all over the place.
Better than the post office.
Really?
All these recognitions and awards and honors,
Boy Scouts.
turning in quite the celebrity.
It's the dog. That's the dog. We're here, actually have 2 items, both of which will bring money into the county. The first one, we were contacted by the City of Cleveland and asked to entertain a contract between us and them for the housing of inmates. In preparation for the RNC, they're looking to move some inmates out. This wouldn't be fresh arrests, should be sentenced and make room within their own facility should the arrest become necessary. 75 bucks a day, looking probably about 30. We will base it on our population abilities at the time.
Are you being asked to facilitate or to help out with any of the law enforcement activities in downtown Cleveland or no?
We are working regionally. I think one of the things that we have to remember is that, well, there's going to be a lot of resources committed to Cleveland. Any resources that are there will be difficult for us to draw back here. For example, we only have one explosive dog. If we were to send it to Cleveland and turns out we need it, or Lake County, it's going to be very difficult to get it. So we're working more regionally with the perimeter, if you would, Lake County in particular. I don't anticipate big problems, but let's face it, we do have Henderson, Red Maple Inn, and some others that are lesser. So who knows?
There was a concern raised yesterday in the meeting that Cleveland was kind of taking a go-it-alone strategy, not really reaching out to too much law enforcement outside of the city.
They are.
Yeah, they are.
The problem is, there you want to keep all of the money.
Right.
And when these cities are doing their final plans and finding out what they're gonna do, they're backing out. They're saying that their accommodations aren't good, the structure isn't good, the money's not good, so they're gonna be.
You know, we heard, Sean Street, we heard Cincinnati pulled out, Florida pulled out, so I don't know.
North
I
Carolina.
mean, we're not part of those talks, so the exact details don't know.
The concern that I would have is somehow that will ripple to us. I mean, if we're not talking to them, that means we're not connected to them, and any fallout, you know, if it should bleed over into Geauga County or something, if there's not a unified, and I'm expecting that there is some connection you guys have with them, but that would be a concern that it is. If they've got this, you know, internally focused effort, and they're not sharing, that they could somehow come back and get us, and if we're, I'm assuming you're prepared because you're pretty sharp, so.
Yeah, and being prepared for that locally, for the what-ifs, okay, is something we're certainly working on. If we needed resources, where we're gonna get, we've had good meetings with Lake County and the departments there, and again, looking to what if. We know that some of the delegates are staying at hotels in Lake County, Menor, Eastlake.
Yes, just those two.
Have delegates pre-booked at rooms. Just watching things. You know, do I expect them to, you know, protesters, for example, to shut down 422? No.
Well, ODOT's already shut down 322, so we don't have to worry about that one.
We're on top of that. We're on top of that.
We already got that one covered, so.
So,
That was part of the plan.
But part of this is, you know, and this, again, goes part of that preparation. Moving some inmates, sentence inmates out here, making room so they can deal with the issues they need to.
Okay.
Get some revenue.
Yeah, if we can make some money off of Cleveland, hey. Every opportunity.
I thought you'd like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's if the check clears.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
The Sheriff's Office is requesting the board approve and execute the agreement for boarding of prisoners by and between the Geauga County Board of Commissioners and the City of Cleveland Department of Public Safety.
Make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner
Aye.
Spillier? Commissioner Whitmore?
The second item, is the county's radio system, the Prime site, which is the tower located behind DES, that central location. We're approached by Newpar, which is Verizon Wireless, and entered into negotiations on leasing of space on the tower to improve cell phone coverage and whatnot in the area.
So will that stop the drop calls at the
Uh,
fire department in Munson?
by Munson, yeah.
Or on Aquila Road.
Yeah.
When you pull out of Ravenwood and go to 322, you might as well just throw the phone out the window.
Yes, and that will help improve that, and
I'm surprised they weren't on that tower already.
Yeah, I thought this was a renewal on
Now,
there.
does that affect you guys at all with the fire trucks for Munson with that drop zone as far as dispatching calls to them, or no?
The radio system, our radio system's separate entity from
Okay.
cellular phone
But it
communications.
affects him. The problem is they're
Yeah.
good when they get outside the station. When they get inside the station, they lose the connection. So
They
when they
do.
go on a call, it
Takes
a
a
little bit to
reboot.
catch up.
Yeah, so that will help plug that.
Yeah, 'cause I was wondering if that would be a delay for that to take place for that down there.
When you leave the station and your computer is rebooting, coming up, resetting itself up, you don't have to stop and wait for it. They have the call information, they're responding and driving there. If the call was close and the computer hadn't yet caught up, we absolutely have the radio system to say, I'm here, I've arrived, I need help, or whatever updates on the calls. So the radio system, it's still a critical key component. And frankly, part of the redundancy, when you can't stop doing what it is you do, having a separate standalone radio system, separate standalone NDT system, it kind of covers you in the event failures on either component.
Sheriff's Office is requesting the board approve and authorize the president of the board to execute the tower lease agreement between the Geauga County Board of Commissioners and New Par DBA Verizon Wireless for space on the prime site tower at EMA for a period of 5 years in the amount of $13,200 per year, and further authorize the president of the board to execute the memorandum of tower lease agreement.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner
Aye.
Spillier? Commissioner Claypool?
John, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did the dog ever come back?
She's still hanging on.
She'll be waiting for me at
Yeah.
the lobby. Go see some.
Where the cookies are, she'll be
Yep,
there.
she knows.
So I don't know if you guys want to have any discussion on this USGS agreement?
Sure. I'd like to get this thing.
I agree. Okay, well, we have we received a joint funding agreement, and then Commissioner Claypool had some concerns that didn't really specify within the funding agreement itself the actual scope of work to be provided. So they followed up yesterday with a letter that attempts to do that. I think there may be, if you want to speak to your concerns.
Yeah, let me, I just got off the phone with Dave this morning, and I read the letter. It's a good starting point. I mean, this is an acceptable scope of work to me. It clarifies, we've never had a scope of work that details the deliverables, and I've never had a contract in which, that I've signed, and I've signed a lot of them, that didn't detail out some specifics in terms of what you're buying. And so this helps us to understand now what we're buying. From my perspective, this is not worth $23,000, but it is a good starting point for a discussion, something acceptable to me. This letter does not make this part of the agreement, so I would just ask that we delay a decision until next Tuesday. Make this a part of the agreement, make the decision, we can move on. This letter is their proposal, so to speak, for what the deliverables happen to be. As I talked to Dave this morning, we're in agreement, he and I and Bob, as the primary folks that have been talking about this, this is a good starting point. There's a lot of improvements we'd like to get started on trying to make. And this is the starting point to that discussion. So, relative to water and wells and all the things that we've been talking about lately, there are a number of improvements we can do, but this helps us now to focus, okay, we got this is either good or bad, let's, focus on making recommendations back to this board in terms of how we might change this contractually going forward, in addition to doing other things to improve the overall, how we deal with it. So, with that said, I'd like to ask for approval to make this a part of the contract, have the contract on the agenda next Tuesday, and then we can approve it and move on. So, that's my 2 cents worth on it, so.
So you can wait till next Tuesday, as Skip's recommending. Debbie does have the joint funding agreement that could be signed today, but that's up to you guys. If they might want to do that, or want to wait till Tuesday.
So what are we, so I just need to clarification, so what are we waiting for next Tuesday for?
Well, this is their proposal to us in terms of the deliverables. That does not make part of the contract. The contract is what we got the other day, which includes, it just basically says, you pay us $23,000, we do something. This is the something. And so they make this an addendum or an attachment or a part of the agreement officially. Laura will review it, make sure that it conforms with legal form and so forth and so on. And then we'll have the official agreement, and which is something we've never had. We've never had deliverables. They've agreed to do something, but nobody's ever acknowledge what it is that they do, and I would contend, based on all the conversations and discussions I've been having with people, is that they do something and we never use it. You heard Bob Weisdeck make a comment that he uses things in general. I contend that nobody's ever gone to the website. They've never looked at this data. They generally look for USGS to give them some commentary, you're in good shape, you're in bad shape. But the importance of this, making this a part of the agreement, is now we have something to go back to from a negotiating standpoint or from an improvement standpoint and say, okay, this is now our baseline, and let's look at making an improvement from here. We know now what we're paying for, $22,000. Is it worth it, not worth it? My opinion is it's not worth it. We can do the mechanical stuff which they're doing. They basically collect the data, throw it on a website. Jerry's already said he can do that. That's mechanical stuff. That doesn't require hydrologists to, with any special skill, particularly. But that's, just my opinion on it. But at least it gives us now a basis for discussion. So
there won't be more delays next week?
No.
Well,
That's
yeah, they're
making-
not gonna do June.
Pardon?
If a funding agreement needs to be signed and returned by June 2nd, today, if we are to perform the scheduled water level measurements in June. That's the last sentence in the document. In italics, under task 3, June 2016 measurement may be delayed until July if the homeowner's permission are difficult to obtain, or if the joint funding agreement is signed after June 2nd, today. So in essence, instead of, we're probably gonna lose a month and pay the same amount of money. The document states, we're signing it as commissioners, they're signing it as USGS. I think we're just kicking the can down the road again. I think we ought to just get this done, and apparently you did too, Skip, because you voted for it last week.
Yeah, no, but we're on the same page on that. I'm not debating that. It's from a legal form standpoint. If we signed the current agreement, it does not include this. It does not include legally this verbiage. So they're committing to nothing in the current agreement if we agree to it today. And by the way, I talked to Martha yesterday. She's had some personal issues which are pretty traumatic, and so I wanted to give her some time and not press this too hard with her. But she did not see a problem. I don't know why that current line is in there. I asked her yesterday, is this a problem for you guys? If we move this to next Tuesday, given your situation, does that create a problem for us timing-wise? Her comment to me was, no, this is not, there's no sense of urgency here. They said that the only reason they put those kind of verbiage in there is to create a sense of urgency on our part. But mechanically, really, it doesn't have any a problem with that. So, again, I'd prefer to wait until next Tuesday if possible, because then we can make sure that it's legally proper. If we did it today, it just wouldn't include this verbiage. And I put a call into Laura, because I didn't see this until this morning. I put a call into Laura to say, is there a way that we can include this legally? And I just don't know that because I'm not an attorney. The letter unfortunately wasn't addressed to us, it was addressed to Dave. The contract is with us, not with Dave. And so we need to have something officially directed to the commissioners to make it legal. This is simply informal if we, agree to it today.
Isn't your contract down there, Debbie, the agreement?
The joint funding agreements with the commission.
It's with the commissioners, and it's with USGS. So a letter, or a memo is what this is, and we asked Dave Dietrich to take point on this, as he's available, and we're not always available. I don't see a problem with it, other than if Skip, if you're talking about, well, the I's aren't dotted and T's aren't crossed, and we don't know what we're getting, and so on and so forth, if they take that same attitude based on what they put in this document that we have today, next Tuesday's too late for that, a part of it. Now, it may or may not be in reality, but if you're, I don't wanna, if you're being a stickler on language, well, it says right here, in their language, I don't know. I mean, we know there's gonna be, or we hope that there's going to be revisions and changes in the overall program going forward with the way the information is compiled. A lot of that will be that we actually chart the information that they give us. I don't see where delaying it is going to do anything. As far as the fact that this letter doesn't say commissioners on it is to me, that's not a big deal, because we already talked to David about taking the lead and you contacting these people. But the contract will say the USGS, and the contract will say between the Geauga County Commissioners. So it seems to me that it's pretty clear on who it's between.
Right, I think you're missing the point, Blake. I'm gonna try to belabor this, and it's not that important to me. I don't wanna fight too hard for this. But, you know, I like to be legally correct. Take us 10 minutes to call USGS and ask them the question. If we wanted to do it right now, we put them on speakerphone and I can ask them the question. But from a legal perspective, I think there's I don't know, probably wouldn't have any problem. And I don't understand why it's a big deal waiting one more Tuesday to get this approved. I mean, what the burning bush is, what the sense of urgency is. So, I mean, if you want to do it today, let's.
I would
do
make
it.
the motion, I don't know, maybe I get a second, but I would make the motion to vote on this agreement, sign it today, and move forward. So I make a motion to sign.
I mean, I do get what Skip is trying to say. I would like to try to maybe, if this language is clearly not in the contract right now.
It is not.
It just, that first sentence of the letter says it corresponds to the joint funding agreement. I assume that number is on the agreement. So that's the tie. But again, this was addressed to Dave Dietrich. So
I mean, the Dietrich part doesn't bother me, because, I mean, we told him yet last week to just, take kind of the lead on this, but it's just, if it's not specifically spelled out in the contract, I mean, and it's not.
It is not. No, there's never been if you look at all the contracts, and I've got them from a number of years going back, we have never asked them for deliverables. We said, we're gonna pay you, and we trust you. We're gonna pay you $23,000, you're gonna do something, we trust you. Okay, well, I'm sorry, it's a federal organization. My trust isn't all that high with these federal organizations. That we're gonna get the value based, not that I don't trust that they're gonna do something, but that we're gonna get the value, and I'm looking out for the taxpayers on this. Are we doing the right thing by the taxpayers on this? And so that's the only reason for asking for the deliverables. I wanted them to tell me, if we're paying you $23,000, what is it I'm buying? Tell me specifically what I'm buying, and that's what this says. And as I said, this is acceptable to me. I read it. It gives me something to look at now to say, okay, I understand what it is you're doing. I know how many man hours are involved. I know what the value of this is. I can put in my mind what the perceived value is. Now I can have a reasonable, rational conversation with somebody to say, $23,000 to do this.
Right, but I'm saying, so I mean, if you feel comfortable that this gives us, I mean, this spells it out, and I mean, at the end of the day, we can, I think that we could hold them accountable as far as this is what they're telling us, they're giving us, maybe they just have it spelled out specifically. I mean, if you feel comfortable with that, I'm willing to second the motion. I don't necessarily have a problem waiting for a week if it's truly not in the contract, but if you feel comfortable that this is it,
It's not in the contract, but let me offer this as a compromise. We can alter the motion to stipulate that we agree contingent on this becoming a part of the agreement. And so if we want to do that, just make the motion and say, you know, are assuming that it's just going to be a mechanical process, that we'll run this by Laura, that is contingent on that, and we can do that legally, then that would be acceptable.
All right, I'll
Modify the motion.
Yeah, I'll rescind my previous motion and make a motion that we go ahead and accept this contingent on the fact that the contract will have this special.
Additional documentation.
Right, the additional
Yeah.
document and the specificity
Specificity.
of the, what it is that they're doing, it's the tasks that they are to do. That's
Second
my
that.
motion. You second it?
You wanna read the action then?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that we didn't even give you the right.
Come on, you've been warming
Come
up
on.
to this.
Wait a minute.
I said it verbally a
This
couple
is
times
my
to you.
last
I was gonna say, isn't this your last hurrah here?
You're gonna go out with a bang.
That,
Okay, you're gonna have to help feed some of this. Okay, so the Commissioner's Office is requesting the board approve and execute and approve the U.S. Department of Interior Geological Survey Joint Funding Agreement. Let's see.
Contingent on all terms being on contract.
Contingent on the scope of work being included in the agreement.
Okay.
And then
that
for the
is
period.
So that is to be effective for the period June 1st, 2016 through September 30th, 2017 in the amount of $36,600.
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And the roll?
Commissioner Rea?
Yes.
Commissioner
Aye.
Spillier? Commissioner Claypool?
Aye. And Blake, for whatever it's worth, and we just add on one little thing. The improvements that we've been talking about are county-owned improvements, not USGS-owned improvements. So we've got the Water Quality Department collecting a whole bunch of data that we could use, various cities collecting data we can use, the well log information, which is actually far richer than this. If you look at the well log information, that we can use. And so the improvements we've been talking about are actually county-controlled, which I think there's a lot of value in that, rather than looking to some other agency to do it. So, and I appreciate you guys going along with this, so.
And that's what
I really
Wiseneck
appreciate
told
it.
me when I talked to him about
So before we adjourn, I would just like to recognize Debbie Ashburn for the terrific job she's done in Christie's absence. And we're all looking forward to Christie coming back,
Yeah.
but Debbie has really stepped up and done an outstanding
Clarification.
job. And Lori Zampino as well, doing a lot of the background
backup.
work. The backup, these two work as a terrific team. I am so thankful that they're here and so proud of the work they do.
to clarify my remarks. Debbie's not going anywhere. She's back to her office,
That's all right.
which she's gonna lose out on some TV time, but she said she's okay with that.
She'll be back though, because she's gonna be working with Ann, and she's gonna trade off on presenting the financials from time to time, because that's how we used to do it. It wasn't just one person doing it, it was a whole department here.
No, thanks.
Be careful of that, Debbie.
What's that?
Be careful of that, we're gonna trade off on the financials, because you could get the controversial ones. You know,
That's what'll happen.
Yeah,
There's
sure
a
is.
symbol I was gonna put in there, but.
There's some controversial thing that'll be Debbie's turn.
Yes.
That'd be it.
I sent Glenn a message, the comment I made to Glenn about the chainsaw.
Yes.
Somebody sent me a funny, it showed a guy with a chainsaw backwards up his crotch, and he was pulling the
Might
rope.
start it.
And he says, "What's wrong with this picture? He's not wearing safety glasses, he's got the sun in his eyes." I said, maybe you ought to talk to your maintenance guys about this, so.
So we adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Okay.
And we've got a 1:30, right, at Waste Management.